Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, Everyone's a Critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. On Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review, and we'll read it on the air, and we'll give you a DVD of some sort. If you want to help support the podcast, patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to help support us. And then there's our TeePublic page. If you go to ihatecritics.net, click on the TeePublic link, and that will send you to our link. You can get some of our merch. We're also live on YouTube Monday evenings between 6 and 9 Central Time p.m. So yeah, if you want to watch us live, subscribe on YouTube. Click on the little bell wherever that's at. And we can start our show. Let's get the pictures up here. And anything you want to go over before we start our movies? Or are we just going to jump right in?
Just wanted to mention the box office because it's relevant to this particular film that we're going to start with. Did you check out the box office this week?
No. I know this movie bombed, but that's all I know.
Yeah, it did. $40 million budget, but that's not counting marketing for this film, which was pretty heavy, and a $7 million opening for Ambulance. And the theory goes that, according to the Hollywood Reporter, that Netflix has killed the mid-budget action movie because of what they do with their direct streaming. They've been making movies like, we talked about Triple Threat last year with Ben Affleck, and Ryan Reynolds did one for them that was direct to streaming last year. And they say that those mid-budget action movies killed this one, along with the pandemic, which the pandemic I don't buy. People are going to the movies. People went to see Sonic, $71 million for the Hedgehog over the weekend. People went to see Lost City. They went to see even Morbius, despite the bad reviews. No, everybody could just smell this movie coming. That's the reality of it, is that you could just smell how bad and terrible this movie is.
Yeah, but you also, the movies you mentioned, although maybe not Lost City, I suppose that kills my argument, but for the most part, they're an existing IP. So that does help out, no matter how bad the movie is, that those seem to do better in theaters, which is a shame. But I was there last night, and Sonic was still packed on a Sunday school night at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So, yeah, I didn't even know this came out until today, if I'm being honest with you. When I was putting the show notes together, that's when I was like, oh, yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal's in a movie? Michael Bay? What the? He was on Saturday Night Live, too.
Yeah, that didn't work.
No. They're too busy at home watching SNL. You should have been on a week ago.
Well, we get started here. Of course, I just want to mention the box office because we talked about it a lot, and then we all go, what did well? And then we never know. So that's fun. And I really was enjoying watching this movie fail because I hated it so much. Ambulance stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen and Jake Gyllenhaal as adopted brothers. They grew up together, and one of them became a soldier and the other one became a criminal. But then the soldier has got a wife who's sick and needs an experimental surgery, and the government won't even talk to him, Bob. The government who has his insurance won't even help him, Bob. They won't talk to him, and he's a soldier. He nearly gave his life for this country, Bob. They won't even talk to him. Sorry. Just layering in the cliche as best I can. He shows up at his brother's house. He's not supposed to talk to him because his wife... And wouldn't you know it, just luck would have it, he happens to be planning a bank robbery, an extensively large bank robbery, taking an incredible amount of timing and precision and a well-honed team. And he decides to invite his adopted brother to be part of that team the day of the heist, because that's a great idea. Let's bring in a guy nobody's ever met before to be who doesn't know the plan, to be part of our massive heist the day of. Great thinking here.
Especially
We're
when
off to a really
they're not experienced heisters either.
no. He's a soldier, but I mean that doesn't make him experienced in bank robbery. He doesn't become a bank robbery expert, and he doesn't even know what the plan is, which somebody tries to point out. But that guy's maybe an informant for the cops. We don't know. There's a whole subplot that they imply that one of the guys in the crew is who doesn't even get a name. They call him Mel Gibson because the guy just doesn't because Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't like him, so he calls him Mel Gibson. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know it's insulting because Mel Gibson is kind of an insult. It's a pretty good insult, I guess, but why he could call him Mel Gibson context-wise doesn't make any sense.
Well, and that's even
anyway.
If they're inexperienced, they've never done this before. They just happen to have a mole inside their crew. That's
well, maybe because the movie is so clumsily put together that we never actually know for sure. Somebody tipped off the cops. The cops are there waiting for them, but then of course this movie is total chaos. So he has these cops who know that this is coming, and they're on the lookout for guys who are going to rob the place because they may or may not have somebody. It's so convoluted and chaotic. We have no idea whether or not that's actually the plot. But then they have to throw in another motivation for this whole fuck up. So they decide to have this cop who wants to talk to a bank teller. He wants to ask her out on a date. So he arrives at the bank after they've all arrived and begun their robbery, which we didn't even see. We get there in progress because we were sitting with the cops having this bland, boring conversation between these two cops we don't even know, neither of whom we even recognize as actors. They having a boring conversation about how one of them wants to ask this girl out who works at the bank. They're having this conversation while the heist is happening. So he goes to the bank. The door is locked. He knocks. Gyllenhaal comes over pretending to be a bank manager and tries to send him away, but he insisted about coming in. And then, of course, he becomes a hostage because they don't have a choice because they fuck up. And that precipitates the entire rest of the fuck up that goes on here. But why do you need two inciting incidents here of how this thing gets fucked up? Because you've got maybe the guy who might be a mole, and you've got now this as the other fuck up, bringing all these fuck ups together in this heist on top of just the overall illogical fuck up that goes on. And none of this is even the plot, Bob. None of this is even the fucking plot of the movie. Because the whole plot of the movie is the fucking ambulance thing. Once they get the money out, they take an ambulance hostage with Eliza Gonzalez in there, and she's got the cop that they took hostage that Mateen had to shoot to get him off of Jake earlier in a brief scene. So she's got the cop dying, bleeding out in the back. They take her ambulance hostage and they go on the run, and immediately they know. Immediately, the cops just know that this ambulance is what they've taken. And meanwhile, all the dialogue is Jake Gyllenhaal plotting to get them out of this. When everybody knows who they are, Bob, and that they're in an ambulance and they're chasing them. They can see them.
Of all the vehicles to hijack,
it's not a bad idea. Actually, when you think about it, because taking an ambulance and driving really, really fast in the direction toward a hospital, at least if they didn't know who these guys were, they might just assume that an ambulance is taking the shot cop to a hospital. That's logical. But they immediately blow that logic out of the water by immediately identifying them, putting them in a gunfight and an explosion. You have Mateen driving in this ridiculous way that is very obvious that he's trying to hide from cops in a fucking ambulance. Driving down fucking back roads and shit, not in the direction of a hospital.
But so you got what, maybe 10 minutes before they find out, even if it is logical and you're going the right direction, at some point they're going to know, hey, this is a hijacked ambulance. So they're going to be able to identify the vehicle. They got trackers and all these things, so they know when something's, I don't know, that's just.
And all the time, Gyllenhaal just keep going on about, I'm going to get you home, brother. I'm going to get us out of this, brother. How? How would you get out of this? When they know who you are. They know you have the money. They know you've taken hostages.
Did you watch his SNL monologue?
No.
You should.
What's that?
He refers to how kind of I don't want to say said he was a dick, but how he was so he took acting so seriously, and he was very method, and he just thought that's the only way you could do it. And people didn't like him that much, and now he's decided he's going to just have fun from now on.
Oh boy, Jake, go back, man. If this is what you're doing when you're having fun, go back, man.
And maybe he mentioned this. I don't remember hearing it in the monologue when I watched it. But I like I said, when I was pulling the show together today, I was like, oh yeah, that name sounds familiar.
This movie sucks. It sucks hard. It's completely moronic. They do kind of get away, which is fucking what?
It's Michael Bay, I guess.
Makes no sense. No sense. Total nonsense.
It's his worst, in terms of box office, the worst one he's ever had, right? Or opening weekend wise, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And good riddance to bad rubbish.
All right. Was Sonic 2 as good as Sonic 1?
Better. I would say this is better.
Nice.
This is a good movie. No joke. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a follow-up to Sonic from a couple of years ago, and I went in just miserable with the idea of this movie because I read that it was over 2 hours long, and I thought to myself, why the fuck would you make a Sonic movie that is more than 90 to 95 minutes? The target audience for this movie is not a group of young people who have a great attention span. You know what I mean? This is not 2 hours is a big ask. But that said, the guy who directed this, Jeff Fowler, seems to really love the Sonic character and this idea of a Sonic movie universe. And his love for it really comes through in the end. He creates this very fun universe. He creates these incredibly fun characters. He's got Jim Carrey to a point where Jim Carrey seems to actually enjoy what he's doing again, to the point where Jim Carrey delivers what is arguably the best performance of his career since the 90s. I kid you not. He's having that much fun, and that much fun from Jim Carrey is coming through the screen in that level of charisma and star power. It's phenomenal. Ben McKenzie as the voice of Sonic it has a lot of fun. Idris Elba as Knuckles and Tails are both, just characters that are just really fun additions to this universe. And everybody, even James Marsden and Tamara Sumpter, I'm sorry, I'm missing up her first name. They each both don't take up too much screen time, but the screen time they do take up is vital to the story that they're telling. So, and they each get a big moment in the movie that is theirs, and they get to be funny too. And it's just a smart, well put together family blockbuster. I can't say anything better than that about it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but the Sonic 1 I liked a lot, and I remember we talked good about it on the show, so that's cool to hear they did it right.
Yeah.
That's all you can really ask for a movie
that's really
like this.
Yeah, just don't make me miserable. And this movie definitely did that. And I saw this before Ambulance, so I didn't have it wasn't a lowered expectation, or it wasn't just it was lowered expectations, sub basement expectations. But I didn't use this to recover from Ambulance. I'm not recovered from Ambulance.
All right, let's move on to Netflix's Metal Lord. Did you get a chance to see this or not?
Watched it this afternoon.
Did you like it or not?
This movie is very funny. It's a very funny movie. And you know what it taught me more than anything is why you love this genre so much. This genre of music, I mean. Yeah. Because it's just this about this very, very earnest, very openly emotional love of something that you share with other people. And that's really what the moral of the story is a group of people unabashedly enjoying something. Eventually, this movie is very clever about how it builds its story, because they actually create a little bit of suspense about the final showdown, the big battle of the bands. There's a lot of suspense involved in whether or not that will happen the way you think it would happen in any other movie. And that's pretty impressive. This is directed by Peter Sellett, who has done a lot of television. Before this, his only movie, I think, was Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. He's assembled a really wonderful cast with Jaden Martell doing tremendous work as the drummer. I love watching him just sort of come alive. The story beats that they give him are so smartly chosen, from him getting drunk at a party and it not going again any way that you expect from previous movies of this type. Teen movies seem to have a way for this type of thing to go, and it didn't quite go that way. I really kind of enjoyed that. I enjoyed the misdirection on the romantic element for him in the movie, because I didn't expect where that was going. And consistently, this movie just keeps surprising you and delivering really wonderful moments. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I went in kind of having big expectations for it based off the stuff that you said about it, and it met those expectations for the most part. I got to shout out Adrian Greensmith as Hunter. I've never seen him before, as far as I know, and he cuts a character that is very dark in many ways, and they go to very dark places with him at certain points. I really enjoyed the choices and the chances they took with him. Isis Hainsworth as the bassist. She's fucking hilarious. The introduction for her is so great. Yeah. She's got rage issues, and she's in the marching band, and she really doesn't want to be. It's a great introduction to a character.
Yeah, what I liked most about it is a movie like this should have all the cliches, and they do a good job avoiding like all of them. They play around with them, but they do something original every time they get to a cliche. And I just found, and it's largely positive, but at the same time, it's rated R. There's nudity. There's, they even use, the word gay in a derogatory tone, but they get back to the point where it makes sense and they correct it. And they use, they don't use the R word, but a version of it, and they correct that. They do it all in an edgy way, but also without being offensive. I think they do a great job of just getting all those points across without being too cheesy. I don't know. I like the way it all worked out. And my absolute favorite scene was his dilemma when he's in the hot tub.
Those cameos were pretty fantastic.
Yeah, you had the entire metal community involved in this movie, from Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine writing the song that they play at the end. You have cameos from Scotty Ian from Anthrax, Kirk Hammett from Metallica, Tom Morello, and as well as Rob Halford from Judas Priest. You have music from all the bands, Metallica, Slayer, Black Sabbath, all of them. Just any metal band. Maybe they don't play Slayer, but they talk about them a lot. Mm-hmm. And you can't do a movie like this without that. And then on top of that, the most important thing that every movie gets wrong, even a movie like Whiplash gets wrong, is the actors they look like they know what they're playing. Almost Famous even gets that wrong. This movie gets that these kids are really playing. At least it looks like they are, and I appreciate that a ton about it. I think it's watchable, and just like I showed my son it, even though it's rated R, because it's not offensive enough that I don't mean. He doesn't really want to see the sex stuff now anyway, because he's so young. So he turns his head automatically on his own. Mm-hmm. But it was just so fun for me, because it was just a movie made for me. I put it in the category of School of Rock. I like it better than School of Rock, but it's still the same type of movie, just a fun little feel-good metal movie. That I actually watched it twice this weekend.
Nice. Yeah. It is that level of watchable that you would watch it more than once. It's inviting in that way, and just the really, really smart, funny choices throughout this entire movie. The ending was great. I love the little touch about the special needs kid was just you can't ask for a better comic beat than what happens to our main character. And then the little cut to the special needs kid just giving him the devil horns.
Right.
That's just, the timing was so precise and so perfect.
Well, and I really love, and I know and I think it's better nowadays, but I love just the positivity between bands. At first, he's wanting to, oh, they suck, they're not metal, they're, you know, this and that. At the end, they're good guys, you know, and I don't know, I liked it a lot, and I can't recommend it enough, especially if you're into metal or at least hard rock. I mean, even if you dabble into Metallica and stuff, but as far as you go, I think you'll find a way to enjoy this movie.
The performance of War Pigs is fantastic. That was so good. It
really was. That was a great little montage, whatever you want to call it, scene. Not quite a montage, but whatever it was really good. The way you watch him learn how to play it.
That's another great thing. Now that you mentioned that's another great thing is watching, because at the beginning he doesn't even know how to play, and they show him learning how to play by listening. He's kind of a kid who can learn by ear, but he's also doing a lot of different things to actually. He's got some skill to start with. He's a band member he's in the marching band. He plays the drum in the marching band. It's a very different thing than playing drums the way you play in a metal band, but to at least have that skill set and to be able to learn by ear, and then to not make it seem like it was like he goes from being the not knowing anything to knowing everything. That transition is very smartly played out. He puts in the work, and the movie puts in the work for him, and that's not something that a lot of movies do.
Yeah. And I was really worried after your review that this is going to be my favorite movie of the weekend. So, I did watch this twice before going to see Everything, Everywhere, and All at Once.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once from the Daniels, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who, of course, been on the show before talking about his movie, The Death of Dick Long, which is an amazing film that gets better the more you think about it. And this is certainly another one in that canon of movies that'll get better every time you think about it. It tells the story of a woman named Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh, who in an alternate universe is a woman who created a way to travel through multiverses. Through whatever reasoning. The bottom line is she can do it, but there's only one other version of her, this one in the universe that we're watching, that can actually do it on her own, travel to all the various multiverses. A multiverse is essentially created by any decision that you make. So you decide to leave the house a little bit early, it creates a whole other universe between, one where you didn't leave early and one that you did. Just every decision, especially the bigger decisions, just create a new branch off into a new entire universe of possibilities. And that's what this movie is all about, is the infinite possibilities in the multiverse. It kicks off when she's going to get her taxes done, and her husband suddenly turns into this man of action. Beforehand, he was a mild-mannered guy who was kind of meek and dopey, and suddenly he becomes this man of action, and he's telling her what's going on, and he's trying to explain what's happening to her in the multiverse, and she's like, what are you talking about? Just completely lost. The way it develops from there is just completely unpredictable, consistently surprising, and very funny, very, very funny, and also incredibly emotional, because at the core of it, there is a mother and a daughter, and how their decisions have changed who they are and how they've become as part of who they've become as part of the various different multiverses. This movie is endlessly brilliant, inventive, like I said, just extraordinarily funny. It has everything in it. Michelle Yeoh is amazing in this movie, but Ke Huy Quan, I believe his name is, who is actually well known from the 80s. He was in Goonies. He was a guy who stepped away from acting for many years, steps into this role, and is just absolute perfection. You've got Jamie Lee Curtis playing this character who is just completely just a complete creation. One of the best things that Jamie Lee Curtis has ever done in her entire career is the levels that she brings to this character. You've got James Hong, who's one of the great character actors of all time. It's just infinitely brilliant, the inventions of this movie. I just can't get over it. So I got to call this out, because there's this reviewer, this very young man, who did a review of this movie that is the worst review of a movie I've ever read in my life. He called this movie predictable. What, did you even watch the movie? But for some reason, I know. How could you predict what happens in this movie?
Oh my god!
You didn't watch it, son. You didn't watch the movie. But he also said, he's like, Ratatouille, really? There's a parody of Ratatouille in the movie, and it's one of the most perfect parodies in human history. It's not a parody; it's an alternate universe version of Ratatouille through the mind of somebody who's probably only kind of vaguely aware of Ratatouille. It is one of the most ingenious and completely hilarious ideas ever. But the core of this movie, the heart of this movie, the philosophy of this movie is so brilliant, in that the idea is that there's a way to heal by just being understanding and kind to people. And just as all this infinite chaos is happening, as all these universes are crashing into each other, if you could just figure out a way to be kind to someone and understand what it is that the multiverse seemingly is a part of them too, and they don't even realize it. And the path that they wish they'd taken is somewhere in that multiverse, and they don't even know it. And trying to just find a way to understand that, understand their pain, and help them in some way, just a little way, can make a big difference in their life. And it's not solving the problem; it's just creating and just being understanding in a way that allows them to find their own solution. That's just a lovely idea. This whole movie is just one big, lovely idea from beginning to end. It's my new favorite movie of all time, surpassing Midsummer and The Big Lebowski. Not by a lot. I still love those movies, but this movie just means so much to me. I cried so hard at the end of this movie just for how beautiful and brilliant it is. It moved me endlessly. I love it so much.
Yeah, my wife cried a lot during it too, and it's I don't know, it's so weird. It's hard to, like, all I want to do is talk about it, but it's so hard to, like, I don't even know where to start. And
right.
and that review has really thrown me off. It's like there is some of the silliest shit in this movie.
Oh my god,
that they made. I mean, at no point are you rolling your eyes. Like, it was just
right?
like, I want to see if I can get away with this. Let's put this butt plug over there and see if anybody notices it, and see if it little things like that. Like, there's this, and I don't know how much you're into the multiverse. I know you believe in it, correct? But I don't know if you.
I'm aware of it as a philosophy and as a sort of a scientific construct, like a basis for experimental thinking at the very least.
And my wife is into it like a flat earther is into flat earth stuff. So she's sitting there going, and like the bagel symbolizes this, and the googly eye, like they all mean something in this stupid rabbit hole, which I am not into at all. Not that I'm a non-believer. I don't really care more than anything. And quite frankly, you know how it is when I think things are too positive. I need a little bit of an edge for the positivity to work. And I was worried that this was going to not have the edge I needed. Boy, was I wrong. This, you know, I don't know. I can't, I'm not going to say it's my favorite movie of all time, but it's definitely in the realm of Midsummer. Like, it's up there in that top 4, top 5 for me. Because that experience was very similar to Midsummer. It's crazy the number of things in my life going on right now that this movie touched on. And I'm sure it's probably for everybody else. And, you know, and it's not just as simple as be kind. They do such a great job of layering it. It's nothing matters. There are no rules. But in order for this to work, be kind, you know?
Yeah.
And if you can apply all those things together, because that's what's missing is a lot of people want to apply that there are no rules out there in this world, but they forget about the kind part. And it's so, it's just so important without being cheesy and lame. To me, this is a movie like, I hate like Tree of Life and like, what's that one, the Wachowskis, the Cloud Atlas. I think this is what those should have been, you know, a movie that are so artistic like that, but also kind of up their own ass. This is just perfect. This is having they're having so much fun putting all the silliness in this movie while making it make sense and being artistic at the same time. There's nothing in here to be annoyed at. I'm totally floored by the idea that anything in this is predictable. I don't even know.
You can't have seen the movie and say that. You can't.
I mean, look at the fucking poster. I should put this will be the cover art for the show.
Yeah.
Everything on this poster is in this movie. There's just a scene where there's two rocks talking to each other, which is
I love
both
that so much.
hilarious and will have you bawling at the same time. You're having both emotions, and I'm not kidding. I could verbally hear my wife bawling next to me, and I had to go to the bathroom for about an hour, and I would not get up to go. I just sat and fought it the whole time, which is probably why I never cried, because I didn't want to miss anything. And weirdly enough, similar to The Big Lebowski and Midsummer, those are the two really cool comparisons. Those are two movies you can watch over and over again and get something new every time. It feels original every time you're watching it. It was, immediately I was like, if you were still awake, I'd have been like, let's do the podcast at 11 o'clock at night. We both got to get up early, but I want to talk about this. It really, I mean, it's that level of movie where, you're just splitting hairs at that point. How do you call anything better than this? It doesn't exist, and that really shocked me because I thought there was no way that I was going to like it as much as you did. And it's just, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, the best thing she's ever done, and she's done a lot of great things. The guy who played Data, there's enough nostalgia there that he kind of does some of the old beats from that, but at the same time, I don't know. It's everything about it is. I mean, the hot dog fingers, everything. And I'm not even.
But that pays off. That is such an emotional thing.
I know.
It's so emotional. The hot dog finger universe is so emotional. It's so silly, but it's so emotional. How do you pull that off? It's fucking brilliant. God damn it. And the great thing is I can say that and I'm not spoiling anything. You have to see it to understand why it's so emotional. Again, it's not all happy or sad. It's about embracing all aspects. She had to learn to embrace the darker part of what her daughter is looking at, and it had to instead of dismissing her and saying you should just be happy all the time. Why aren't you happy all the time? She has to learn to embrace that part of her, and that's both of them having to learn to embrace, the daughter having to embrace that maybe everything isn't terrible. It's kind of the lesson. Her arc is not everything is terrible, and Mom's arc is not everything is great in many ways. And that's such a loose but yet kind of brilliant way to construct a narrative.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the grass is greener, which they never really. I guess they kind of play with that because they're dealing with the relationship between the husband and wife as well that is so well done. I mean, starts off the movie, he's going to ask her for a divorce, and then you have in all these different universes, half of them they're not together, and one of them specifically, she's living an amazing life, but is it better than the life she's living now? Normal? I mean, there are all these. Your head just spins the entire time. It's not confusing. It's easy to follow, but there's a lot going on, and everything on the screen matters, similar to something Ari Aster would do. More than anything, I'm not to take anything away from the death of Dick Long, but I love that movie. It's amazing, so well done, so smart. This seems so much more complicated than that, and it really is quite an achievement. I don't know
it's the sensibilities of the two of them. I think him and Daniel Kwan's sensibilities coming together. I think really is something. And those two together are quite brilliant. And when you have Dick Long as kind of the baseline for one of them working by themselves, and then you have this as the two of them together. That's kind of just shows that how indeed brilliant they both are.
Yeah, I mean, just the way you have to jump universes by making a weird decision. So many great scenes with that. I can't. This is one of those you watch all the time. You watch whenever it's on. I mean, It is Lebowski level, watchable, rewatchable.
It is an Academy Award winning Best Picture kind of movie that also has the greatest butt plug joke in the history of movies.
And the best part is when I first saw it, I was like, that really looks like that's funny. And didn't think of anything of it.
I thought it was just an IRS joke.
Right. I kind of did too. And we are spoiling a little bit here by talking about that. But even so, it's not going to be any less funny. Mm-hmm. It's like,
So you don't know what the joke is yet. Yeah. Or there's an extra visual payoff in that scene as well. You must see this movie. Whoever you are watching this, listening to this, you must see this movie. You have to see it.
What we haven't even touched on is it's a kung fu movie on top of all of that. Like, it is, as kung fu as kung fu gets. I mean, it's a big part of this whole movie. It's part foreign film, it's got everything. It literally, the title is the perfect name for this movie. It ends halfway through it, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Everybody should go see it. I wish the theater was more crowded. There was people in it, don't get me wrong. There was 10 or 15 people, which is pretty good for a movie this size at 7 o'clock at night on a Sunday.
It almost beat Ambulance on not nearly as many screens.
Yeah, that was the other problem. I almost couldn't see this because we had to make my daughter skip a practice, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but we got it. I need to see this for the podcast. Can we? And I think you're a big multiverse person. Please, can we just have her skip so we can go to this? And my God, it's right up there. It's 1A and 1B, this and Midsummer in terms of the best A24 movies of all time. I don't know which one I like better. I don't really care. I think they're both fantastic. And if it comes up on Flickchart, I'll just let you pick, or we'll flip a coin. I can't say enough about it. Everybody should go see it right away.
I'll have to send you the review that kid wrote. It was only like 3 lines, but it was the dumbest review I've ever read. And I hate saying that. I do, because he's a colleague of mine. Like, we're both members of the group together, but like, I've never how anybody could call this movie predictable, and your only criticism is Ratatouille. Really? Like suddenly the culture all agreed that Ratatouille was irrelevant. When did we do that? Also, how is this irrelevant in any way? It's fucking relevant. It proves to be very fucking relevant in the movie.
And it's hilarious the way they play it.
Fucking hilarious. I immediately started thinking of my mom, who would totally say something like what the character, Michelle Yeoh's character, trying to remember what this movie is and mixing up the premise. Like, but then there's a reason why she mixed up the premise, because she thought of it the way she did. It's just fucking genius. That's a great joke. That's a great joke.
Unless you're just literally taking out everything in the movie and just starting with the beginning and going to the end, and even that is pretty weak. I mean, that's just, I mean, like, I hate Tree of Life and I hate Cloud Atlas, and these are, and I'm probably not being fair. I'm probably being overly, like, it's it's weird for the sake of weird or whatever. This has all the substance that I think those are lacking, or more. I don't know, and I'm probably not being fair to those movies, but that's in my opinion. I just don't see how you can apply what I hate about those movies to this. I just don't get it. But then again, people probably say the same thing about Tree of Life. So what do I know? Go see this movie. please.
I'm going to go see it again. I'm dreaming of the moment when I can get to see it again. I've got to move my entire life around to do it. I'm going to do it because this movie is that worth it. It's just that amazing.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to some more weirdness, but on a different level. Our undisputed classic is Brewster Macleod.
This turns out to be a weirdly perfect choice, doesn't it?
I know, no kidding.
Brewster Macleod, I had no idea. I thought this was like a detective movie or something based off of the title Macleod. I thought we were getting a 70s James Garner movie or some shit. That is not what this is. This is directed by Robert Altman. His follow-up to MASH stars Bud Cort as a young man who's trying to learn how to fly like a bird. That's the premise. Also, he's partnered with a woman who may or may not be a serial killer. Which one of them is the serial killer? One of them is a serial killer. Either him or Sally Kellerman are definitely killing people. People are ending up dead. And covered in bird shit every single time.
From the same bird.
From the same bird. Sally Kellerman has the bird, so I imagine it must be her that's killing people, but it's hard to say for sure. And it's really not the point. The point here is this exercise in weirdness where Robert Altman has come up with this very bizarre premise and keeps spinning it out into these very, very funny, strange scenes that are just completely outlandish and yet so very clever and very, very smart in many ways. I laughed a lot at this movie. I was damn confused, but I was just deeply entertained. Rene Auberjonois opens the movie as this ornithologist character who is himself slowly morphing into a bird for some reason, as he gives us these many, many bird facts that play like a Greek chorus to everything else that's happening in the movie. You've got a group of cops who are searching for the serial killer who lives at the Astrodome for some reason. It's the strange choices, and that the movie treats all of these strange choices as if they're perfectly normal here. I don't know why you think this is so strange. This is perfectly normal. In the eyes of the movie, in the universe in which Robert Altman lives, this movie is, in his eyes, this just makes complete sense.
Yeah,
I love that attitude.
I love the attitude, and there are movies of his I don't like as much, where he has a similar approach where it just kind of seems like it's all over the place and a lot of things are happening. Here, it's entertaining enough that it makes it easy to watch. I couldn't tell you what's happening or what the point is, but which makes me like everything everywhere all at the same time that much more, because they do this and have it all tied properly, like it all plays out to in a proper point, and I think that's just impressive as hell. You know, not a lot of people can pull that off, and I mean it. Even like this. Made for. I watched this as the first movie I watched for the week for the episode, and I enjoyed it. It was funny. It was weird, just the way it ends. It's just kind of like it's funny.
Like it just sort of ends right where it should. The only possible way for this to end is how it ended. Right. Very a serious man in that way.
Yeah, it is not. I guess it's probably like Monty Python meets the Coen Brothers, I suppose, in a way. It's such a weird, just random. It's, I don't know. But it's very, very entertaining.
Incredibly so. Yes, I was really very weirdly entertained by this movie. And the thing about it is, I love Altman's sensibilities, the way he expresses himself, sort of. Morally and politically, he justifies having Sally Kellerman be this very happy serial killer, this very pleasant, happy serial killer, by making everybody that she kills really shitty people. And it's not like they're not like criminals; they're just really shitty people. You know, like there's just the kind of assholes whose death will probably make the world a slightly better place.
Well, I love
that's just his commentary. Like, it's okay that she's doing this. These people suck.
Yeah, like when they're going to that cop's funeral and they're expressing their condolences, and he's like, "Why? He's an asshole. Or he's a terrible cop." Yeah,
he was on vacation.
Yeah, it's just such a
his smiling wife at the funeral.
I just
the shots of her. She never gets a line in the movie, but the cop's wife doesn't really get a line in the movie. But but after he dies, you can just see her just trying to hold back a smile. It's such a great touch.
Yeah, and I don't want to call it for everybody, but if the type of person that would watch the show or listen to the show, I think you'd like this movie. It's worth checking out. Yeah, and it was a good bookend of the show. I think The Player is the perfect movie that explains the movies we hate. I mean, am I wrong?
No, it does. It is savage in that way. He's the kind of guy who would make Ambulance.
Right. And that's where we started the show. This is I love this movie so much, but it also is probably, it's probably not the reason, but it's definitely a kernel in the back of my mind after seeing this years ago. Whenever there's a movie, I just can't, it just feels so put together by committee, that, and it just makes me hate those more than something that sucks, but at least they tried. But this is fantastic. Go ahead.
The Player turns 30 this week. Another movie, again, directed by Robert Altman, and a savage satire of Hollywood and the way that they do business, but also, it's just such a nasty movie in so many ways, and so smartly nasty. Tim Robbins plays a movie executive who thinks he might be on the way out, and he's kind of making moves here and there. He's also being stalked by somebody who keeps sending him these angry notes telling him that he's going to kill him. He's trying to figure out who it is, so it's kind of a noir aspect to it. He finds the guy, he kills the guy, and then the movie that's not even the worst thing that happened. The thing about it is that this movie, the ending of this movie, justifies everything that came before it by being just the nastiest ending imaginable in the happiest fucking ending possible. It's so good. Yeah. Such a great ending. It's the perfect ending, and it looks so beautiful, and then it dawns on you just how awful he is, and everything that happened was, and oh my God, and this happens at the end. I love it. I love this movie. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it just, to go back to last week, makes you hate The Bubble that much more. A movie that just doesn't know it just doesn't know how to be a satire of its own, of Hollywood. This movie, I don't know, it's just so smart. It doesn't pull back punches. It's not mad for the sake of being mad. It's mad for a purpose, and and then you get people who are involved in these movies that suck in this movie making fun of their movies that suck. It's, and I don't even know if they knew they were doing it because it's Robert Altman.
Yeah.
This is a must see for any, especially if you're like an up and coming movie fan. This is a really important movie to see, I think, to help you kind of understand movies. Just so fantastic.
The structure, the clever ways that he just builds this story, creating this murder mystery aspect. Then he's got this romance between two people who definitely shouldn't be having a romance, but they do. And Greta Scacchi, she is so gorgeous and so brilliant in this movie. And I just adore her. Then you get Cynthia Stevenson is fantastic. Peter Gallagher is this vapid executive who's just failing his way upwards, and of course he is. He's handsome, and he's just goes places where he needs to be at when he needs to be there, and people see him, and because they saw him there, they assume he's a genius, and they keep bumping him up. That is even text in the movie. They don't even put that in the text. You just come to understand that that's what's happening with this guy. On top of which, the Tim Robbins character is just the amoral guy who's he's kind of like a noir villain in many ways. And this is not necessarily, it's almost a Bogart-like role in a way, which when you really drill down on it, he's a guy who's done something bad that he's trying to hide. There's an element of the telltale heart, Edgar Allan Poe going on, because he knows what he did. He thinks somebody else knows what he did. He's trying to cover up what he's did. On top of that, he's trying to save his job. And then he's having this romance going on. In that way, he's kind of created this sort of noir while also creating this savage Hollywood satire that's incredibly funny. The scene in the police department with Lyle Lovett, Whoopi Goldberg, and Tim Robbins is just epically brilliant. It is so good. Not a beat of that goes wrong. And Whoopi Goldberg is actually the reason why they got to make this. She was the biggest star at the time. And when they said that we've got Whoopi in the movie, they're like, okay, green light, go ahead. And she absolutely kills her performance. She's great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It is on HBO Max now. If you have HBO, go watch it. I'm not kidding. This is a must-see for movie fans if you haven't seen it already, because not like it's the best movie of all time, but it definitely, I don't know, at least it spoke to me a lot, and it taught me a lot about movies, and it also fuels a lot of my anger when it comes to bad movies, and it's not like real anger. It's just like when a movie sucks. It's just, I don't like wasting time. And this guy, he's a sociopath. Everything about him is wasting my time. And when the movies he makes, you need more of your time than mine.
This movie is still shockingly relevant when you think about it too, because the opening scene is him hearing a pitch for The Graduate 2.
Right.
The Graduate 2, and it just to have Buck Henry there doing the pitch of The Graduate 2 is still a relevant joke today.
Yep.
It's a well-known IP. Just bring back the stars that people recognize. Here's a shitty story to go with it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah. Filling up is a great way to put, all these characters really. You just have to have no heart. I don't know. It's just so smart. So well done. I can't believe he made it.
Just be the most heartless, arrogant bastard on the planet, and you get to move forward. And that's kind of how Altman sees the world, and why he hated the world so much is just the shitty people just keep winning just by being as shitty as possible.
Right. All right. We also had that turned 30. Let's see, Newsies, which we've done before as a classic, I think.
Did we?
Either that or we had a big argument over what Christian Bale's top 3 movies were, and I thought Newsies was, in terms of popularity, what people liked.
Oh yeah, that I remember.
What else turned 30? Ferngully and Sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers, one of the worst movies ever made. Stephen King adaptation. About a guy who turns into a panther or some shit. I'm not sure exactly what he did. Cat? Is he a cat? I don't remember. It was so bad that it's just unwatchable. It had like special effects that would look bad in the 70s in 92. Like
that's hilarious. And it comes out the week of The Player too, on top of that. Which, man.
It's this movie meets this movie.
Right. All right, next week we've got Father Stew, Fantastic Beats, The Secrets of Dumbledore, Room 203, and then we're all going to the World's Fair, which you said we should all try to see if we can.
Absolutely.
That should be out Friday to rent. on Amazon or iTunes, wherever you watch your movies. We don't have a classic yet. We'll see what Flickchart does to us. And then in 1992, we got The Babe, Brain Donor, City of Joy, Deep Cover, and Boris and Natasha, the movie. I don't know if any of those do anything for you, but not me. All right. Let's go play some Flickchart. Spotlight or Eagle Eye?
Spotlight.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. Lady Bird or Airport 77?
Lady Bird.
Never actually seen Airport 77, but Lady Bird's awesome. Another Round? Or
I've not actually seen either of those movies. I wanted to. I meant to see both of them, and I just didn't.
Gosford Park or Copland?
Gosford Park. They heard us talking about Altman.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a better movie. Yeah, I'll just go with you. I can't just keep defending movies that weren't good. A Night in Camelot?
Never seen it. I can't even imagine.
Boogie Nights, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, but I love Boogie Nights.
Yeah. Milk Holes.
Milk.
Yes. Mad Max Fury Road, Paranormal Activity.
Mad Max.
Agreed. Dunkirk, Private Parts.
Private Parts.
Oh, wow. I thought we were going to have to flip for that one. U571, Arachnophobia.
U571.
I could care less. Limitless, Heat.
I don't like either one.
So I get to pick.
You want to pick Heat? Go ahead.
I'll take Heat. 3 Days of the Condor, Barton Fink.
Barton Fink.
Gravity, High Fidelity.
High Fidelity.
I really like Gravity, though. That's hard. And there's enough of it. I'll go with you. Hannah, The Addams Family.
Hannah.
Annihilation, Boogie Nights.
Annihilation.
Yeah, I agree.
Rough night for Boogie Nights.
No kidding. It's running up against the real contenders. Encanto, That Thing You Do.
I know it'll be controversial, but it's that thing you do.
I agree. The French Connection, SWAT.
Only because it's SWAT, I'll take French Connection. I don't love French Connection, as I think we've discussed.
Yeah. A Few Good Men, School of Rock.
School of Rock.
Yeah. Get Out, 71 Fragments of a... Okay. Sean shaking his head. Get Out or Die Hard 2?
Get Out.
Absolutely.
Buy a lot.
Can't wait for Nope.
I know, that trailer is
That's
fantastic.
amazing. That's such a fantastic title on top of it.
I know, right?
Kiss,
It's exactly what you'd say in this moment.
Yep. Kiss the Girls, Swingers.
Swingers.
Yeah, I love Swingers. Sex and the City, Gone with the Wind.
Sex and the City. Jesus Christ. Both fucking garbage movies.
Well, you answered it pretty quick. El Mariachi, Role Models.
Sex and the City is only slightly less racist.
Only because it's all white characters. El Mariachi or Role Models?
I love El Mariachi, but I would watch Role Models right now if you asked me to.
I agree. I think Role Models is way too fun.
Funniest energy drink joke in history.
And as much as Kiss is overused, the way they use it in that movie, I love.
Yeah.
Face Off, John Wick, Chapter 2.
John Wick Chapter 2.
I am kind of bummed that Nicolas Cage is doing like real press now. Have you seen some of the things he's been doing lately? Like,
no.
You know how they have the celebrities that go on and do the Google questions and they answer?
Yeah.
He's doing stuff like that and
demystifying the Cage legend.
Yeah, he seems more normal. I don't like that.
Hopefully the movie will blow that up again.
Right. The Color of Money, The Last Boy Scout.
Color of Money.
Yeah. Apocalypse Now, Star Trek Nemesis.
Apocalypse Now.
Hidalgo, Christopher Columbus Jr.
No, sorry.
1939. Hidalgo, Little Rascals. I don't know why I didn't just fuck both of them. 13 going on 30. Is this Doctor Who a movie or?
No, it's a TV show.
13 going
Very
on
good TV show.
30 Anchorman.
Which way are you going?
I mean, I'm Anchorman, but 13 going on 30 is really, really good. And
I love 13 going on 30.
I would be heartbroken if you went that way.
Let's flip the coin. Let's be kind to 13 going on 30.
Because it's not fair that I'm, just happen to be, what is, okay, heads, tails, okay. In fairness, the first time I flipped it, Anchorman would have won. This time it is 13 going on 30 wins.
Fair enough.
Crimson Tide, Moonraker.
Crimson Tide.
Yes. Friday the 13th, the remake, Father of the Bride Part 2.
Absolute garbage movies. Father of the Bride.
I don't know that I've seen either one of them. The remake's garbage, not even fun.
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
There's only one Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Pet Cemetery, The Rock.
The Rock.
I hate Pet Cemetery, and I hate that people like that movie. All right. Gone Girl, Ghost.
Yeah, Gone Girl.
7 in Bruges.
That is tough. That's tough. It's 7. But In Bruges is fucking great.
Yeah. I hate that it, 7's the obvious one, but In Bruges is quietly awesome. And it always gets overlooked. Michael Clayton, Matchstick Men.
Michael Clayton.
Agreed. Suicide Squad, Sleepers.
Sleepers.
Uh-oh. I think I just chose Chapter or something. I don't know what it was. Dr. Dolittle 2 or The Mothman Prophecies?
The Mothman Prophecies.
I'm going to flip a coin. I hate that movie.
You can defend voting for Dr. Dolittle 2.
No, I hate The Mothman Prophecies so much. It's more than anything I hate. When it came out, there was enough people close to me that just thought it was the best thing ever. And how real it was. And
it's not a good movie, but it's better than fucking 2-hour poop jokes.
I know, but there's nobody saying those are awesome. I'm voting against the audience. Maybe that's not fair. And you win anyway. Mothman Prophecies. The Natural, All About the Benjamins.
The Natural.
I fucking hate The Natural too.
All About the Benjamins is not a good movie.
I know. Actually, I haven't seen it. I'll let you have it. But The Natural's so overrated, it's not even funny. Limitless, Man of the West.
I've not seen Man of the West.
Limitless, Brightburn.
Limitless. The universe just wants me to vote for Limitless for some reason.
Yeah. The Road, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Sorry, Josh. Apocalypto, Psycho.
I was just rereading because I'm working on my blog with all my old stuff in it, and I was rereading my review of The Road and just how miserable it is, and the amount of talent it takes to make a movie and craft a movie so good that it literally embodies the feeling of being completely miserable. How do you recommend that, or just want to watch that? I don't know. It's not a mindset that I could ever understand.
And I can't explain it. And I have been enjoying you going back in movies you've trashed on here, actually reading your positive reviews. It's been making me happy. Specifically The Ring, and then Santa Claus 2 is just funny.
I really loved Santa Claus 2 20 years ago for some reason.
Speaking of 2 movies I don't remember at all, Spawn or Legend?
Spawn, I guess, maybe.
Recency bias. 97 versus 85.
Yeah, seemingly.
Drive or The Hangover?
That's tough. Those are two very different, very good movies. I would watch The Hangover right now, and Drive takes a little bit of effort to want to watch it, even though it's brilliant. So I'll go with The Hangover.
You went with The Hangover? I'll flip it for fun. They're
equal in that, in many respects.
The art movie beat the watchable movie. Drive won the coin flip. Popeye or The Amazing Spider-Man?
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Flipping a lot today.
Popeye is just the Altman that just doesn't quite work.
Did he do Popeye?
Yeah, that's Robert Altman.
Nice. Well, it won the coin toss. Transformers, Dark of the Moon, The Irishman, the 4-hour Irishman.
It's still better than Transformers.
Yeah. Jason X, Jack.
Jason X. I would like to combine those movies if I could. Shoot Jack into space and have him killed by Jason. That'd be the perfect movie.
I haven't seen either one of these movies. Elephant or Andersonville?
Elephant. Yeah, that's a school shooting movie by
Gus Van Sant.
Gus Van Sant. Yeah.
Is it good or is it?
It is powerful. It is. Yeah.
Huh. Beverly Hills Ninja, Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon.
Nice.
When I said that Robotnik in Sonic is the best performance of Jim Carrey's career since the 90s, that's the movie I'm referring to.
Yeah, I can't think of anything since then that I've seen that was even close to that. Night of the Living Dead, 68, A View to Kill.
It's Night of the Living Dead by a lot.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes, 2010, Vertical Limit.
Sherlock Holmes. Vertical Limit is so dumb. So dumb.
Well, nothing that's jumping out as a classic like we were hoping. Anchorman or The World of Apu?
I'm not seeing it. I know I should. I haven't.
Anchorman, The Ugly Truth.
Oh, it's Anchorman by a lot. The Ugly Truth is a terrible film.
Are you sure? The Manchurian Candidate, 2004, or Z?
Z.
What is Z?
Z is it's a political film from the late 1960s. I'm struggling to recall the exact premise. It's a great movie. We should watch that for the classic. That's the classic then. if it's available.
If Z is available, that is a classic. Dick Tracy, Ghost Rider.